security expert Mike Obiaje in the studio with us, and also still with us is Dotun Ojo as well. Good morning to you, Mike.
Good morning.
Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Nice to see you.
And thank you for staying with us, Dotun. Yeah. So let me start with you, because we don't even understand anymore, because at a point we thought it was something that would go. In fact, the police had told us that the crisis in Gwari was over, that they are draining the criminals, the security had been restored. But now, with the new dimensions to this and the impunity of it, is there cause for worry here?
Absolutely. There's a lot to worry about in this case we are witnessing in Gwari, because like you just mentioned, that the police gave the impression that it's all over and it's uhuru. And that has been the approach when it comes to issues like this in this country. Because one, we underestimate the problems that we have on our hands, and that makes our preparation and how we want to go about tackling them, you know, it makes it very, very difficult to achieve long-lasting solutions. You see, the issue of Gwari and the kidnapping that is going there cannot be totally just waved aside as if it's something that you can just achieve overnight, because it didn't take that little time to get to that stage. For some of us that were born and brought up in the north, we grew up understanding and knowing about this Gwari area. It's something that is as old as close to 3 decades. You see, but the manifestation is becoming more now, because when politics came in, a lot of arms found their way, little arms found their way into the hands of people. And so they began to become more daring, and know, because some of them were actually equipped by some of these politicians that have used them. And then when the cash is no longer coming as it should be coming, they begin to fend for themselves using the arms that they were given. And so if you go to this forest that we are talking of, it's not a simple place. In fact, that is just another Sambisa in the making, if not already made. Because we are talking of a forest that is as wide and as deep as close to 100 kilometers, spanning through about 4 states. So if somebody will wake up and tell you how and what tactics have you applied, these people live in the forest there. Some of them were born there, and they are as old as their stay in the forest there. So it's not an easy thing. So it's something that calls for worry. Because
all right. Let me stay with you, Mike. This Gwari access, or the routes there, what is very peculiar? What is peculiar? What is special about that place that makes this kidnapping go on and on for so many years on the same place?
Exactly. Why? What is peculiar about it is what I've just told you. Looking at the place, the forest, where this thing happened.
But besides that, there are forests in other places too. In fact, if you're going to Birnin from Lagos, around Akure or you have forests all over the place.
Almost everywhere, along the express
Yeah, along
routes.
everywhere. You're traveling everywhere, there's forest. You're going to Bayelsa, there's forest everywhere. But talk to us about this issue, because it seemed like it goes beyond the presence of forest there.
Yes. Actually, we cannot totally attribute it only to the presence of the forest. Fine, let us know the history of this forest that we are talking about. These forests actually were reserves owned by the federal government, but along the line, they abandoned them like every other federal government property or resources. Maintenance is not there, nobody is working there. So these people eventually found it as a safe haven for them. And you know the issue of insecurity in the north, the population of the people, the Almajiris and co that have found themselves into this kind of business. So the road linking from Gwari that links the south is one of the oldest roads that connects the south and the north. So the road went so bad. So that is where the people began to take advantage of the bad road, where vehicles have to stop, and they started small, and it got to the stage where they found out that the government was not like paying attention. You know, we always wait for the fire brigade approach, we allow things to get so matured that it becomes out of hand and begin to do that. So that is where these things are. And then the cattle, the Fulani people, the cattle rustlers, because most of these people that are perpetuating these things, actually, if you look at them very well, most of them are the Fulani. They are of these Fulanis. And you will see that.
How can that be ascertained? Has there been an arrest and it was found that those who perpetrated were Fulanese?
Of course,
because we need to be careful so we don't profile any ethnic group.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that is one problem that we always have, because each time we try to look at crime for what it is, the next thing that comes to people's mind is, where does this person come from? It doesn't really matter, because crime is crime. There's no, it's like hunger. There's no Hausa hunger or Yoruba hunger or an Igbo hunger. When hunger comes, it is hunger. And crime is crime, irrespective of who commits it. The truth is that this area is just that, for one reason or the other, like you said, so that it will not seem as if we are profiling a particular ethnic group. But if you talk about the axis that we are talking of now, because Birnin Gwari is a place that you can use to access Katsina, Funtua, you can use to access Zamfara, you can use to access Sokoto, you can even use it to go to other states like Kwara and all these areas. So these people have finally found that place as a very comfortable place for them. They're operating. They've stayed there. They've customized the forest to their own taste, to enable them to function very, very well with what they are doing. When they carry these people, they go in there, and it has become a very difficult terrain for even the security operatives to penetrate, to be able to handle them. So if you look at, if somebody comes and say that we have deployed 100 policemen, where would they start from? Where would they start from? And then we do not have facilities, the resources. The security people do not have the resources to be able to meet with the challenges in that forest. There are no vehicles that are terrain useful to be used in those places. Most of them use motorbikes to go in there. And then when they come out, they operate. You can't use motorbikes in return. So that is one of the challenges that we have with tackling the problem.
Naturally, you would ask a question that, how difficult is it really to fight crime in any developed society? When it comes down to Nigeria, it seems that a lot of factors have to be considered. Like from what you just told us, how easy would it have been, or is it, for the police to actually, rein in those criminals in that area?
Actually, a display of ignorance on the part of whoever is involved when you ask police to go and deal with the crisis we have in Gwari. And at every point in time when I hear it, I feel like people in authority do not really understand the extent that these people have gone. So at this point in time, we need synergy between all security forces. Leave the police out of this. We need the Air Force more. Because, like he said, they have customized this place. They have been in this area for God so knows. And there are about 3 peculiarities that I really want us to touch on. The first one is availability of material. And I'm talking about people here. Population has become a major challenge because some people just give birth and allow them go to the street. So these people, they have a huge population to recruit from. And they do that as often as possible. Number 2 is the issue of poverty. Everybody in Nigeria now, I think greed has become our god. And we want to escape poverty at any given cost. So these people, again, are going to take advantage of poverty.
Not everybody
to recruit
anyway.
more people. Number 3 is how accessible how good are our roads? They are not good. They are not motorable. In Lagos here, as we speak in Lagos, just about 1 or 2 weeks ago, a car was snatched from somebody. And the guy was complaining to me. It happened because the road was obviously bad. Those guys stood there and collected the vehicle without anybody coming to his aid. So criminals have known the weak point of the Nigerian system. And they're actually exploring
taking advantage of it.
They are taking serious advantage of it. So when you talk about solving security challenge, the first thing is for us to understand the extent of the challenge we want to sort out. Because if we do not understand, and at every point in time, government keeps displaying its ignorance by sending police to Birnin Gwari, and that has to stop.
All right, Mike, let me come back to you. This issue in Birnin Gwari now, is the police overwhelmed? Has it gone beyond the capacity or ability of what the police can handle, or is just sheer, how do I put it? Or it's just incompetence on one hand when it comes to intelligence, or we don't even have it? What really seems to be the problem that is making it linger so much?
Okay, the Nigerian police, as we have them today, they are one of the best in Africa, given the right environment and the resources to operate. They've made records in the United Nations peacekeeping operations. They've performed excellently well. But they are handicapped here. Like I said, it is not an issue that we can approach from a single face. Okay. We need a synergy, like my brother here said. There needs to be synergy. First of all, let us define the type of enemy we are looking at. Now, if we define it, is it a pocket of enemy? Like in the army, they will say a pocket of enemy, where you need like a section to attack them. You first of all have to know what you are dealing with, the depth of this enemy, the width of the enemy, what they have. And this can be achieved through intelligence. You want to say, have some of these criminals not been arrested over the years? What have we gathered from them as intelligence? Now, if you look at taking Boko Haram, for example, what we're having in Boko Haram is already breeding there. And so what have we learned from Boko Haram fight? And that we should have put into use. For example, the vigilante group, the civilian JTF in the district, that should have been a model that Nigerian security outfit should have worked on seriously, such that it will be applied here, because they played a significant role in the success that was achieved in Boko Haram. Not to say
in the
that
northeast.
Yes, in the northeast. Not to say that the military did not perform, but of course these are people that know the people. They know the persons concerned, they know the terrain better. Now, when that happens, we will now talk of, because as it is now, if we want to, because of the expanse of land we are talking of, where the forest covers, and the shortage of manpower that we are having, we have to bring in the Air Force, and then the Air Force will come and then comb that area. Let them go and defecate on top of that forest with their fighter jets. Clear them. These people will come out. When they come out, the necessary things will be done. And then when that happens, we'll begin to talk of where the judiciary will come in. Some of these people will be arrested. What happens to them at the level of the judiciary? At the end of the day, you hear that kidnappers, you see them being shown on the television. How do they end? We don't know. There's no follow-up of how these people end. Maybe they end up back in that place. And so I am saying that the forest as it is, the government shouldn't have left it there. And then the military is the best to handle this situation, working together with the police, the other agencies like the Air Force. They work together in synergy so that we'll arrest the situation at hand. Then, it is not just to clear the forest. Clear the forest and do what? Thereafter. Exactly. Will the forest be left like that? They will come back because nature abhors vacuum. And then when they come back, you know what it means. It will take us greater time and energy and resources to be able to combat them. What can we do with the forest? If the government of the nation cannot handle or take care of the forest any longer, why not release it to the state governments that have boundaries around that area? Talk of Zamfara State, Sokoto State, Kaduna State, Katsina State. Spread it to them. Let them make use of it. Otherwise, look at Kaduna as it is today. There are military formations everywhere. In Ojo, for example, Ojo Military Cantonment, where it was sited, now if you go back history, you will discover that it was majorly a bushy area. Then people built up to that area, and they are there now. Relocate all those cantonments that are in the town in Kaduna, and those buildings will become useful to federal ministries or that thing. Relocate them, build, turn that forest into a military cantonment and everything, and you will discover that people will begin to come there because they feel safer to buy land and live. And it's going to be a win-win situation for us if they cannot even convert it to farm, because whatever the government is doing now in trying to alleviate poverty is being rubbished at that forest, because the economy of that place. There's a lecture that was given recently by a scholar in Usman Danfodio University in Sokoto, where he talked about Nigeria losing close to 110 billion naira from Bindikebi issue of the kidnapping and agriculture. Farmers can no longer go to farm again. The herders are having problems because their cows are being rustled. Cow rustling is there, where people recently about 19,000 cows were returned back to the owners. Do you know what it takes to steal 500 cows, to move them from Kaduna to maybe to Katsina to go and sell? So this is something that we are just looking at it and treating it with kid gloves. We need to do what? First and foremost, go on what we call human and technical intelligence, where everybody will be sensitized to become a part of these people. There are villages within that place, like Rima village, inside the forest, where the people stay there, they do everything, live, like when they are in need of anything, they come to the town, they get them. If they are hungry, they come to get food, they go back. See them moving freely with weapons. But of course, the military is overstretched as it is today. It is overstretched, and there's no way. And we have this issue of our service chiefs and the military brass coming up to give deadlines for such things. That is one problem that has...
All right.
And it puts them under pressure.
Exactly.
Under pressure.
Dr. Mike has talked about a lot, really, and has even given a multi-pronged approach to it and even solution. But then you would think that this is quite easy for the government to do, but nothing has been done. The level of urgency, is it impressive?
I think our government, we only wake up to its responsibility when we learn to attach value to human life. If one life actually matters to Nigeria, then we will not wait until something degenerates before we take action. So the issue of value to human life. Then secondly, anything that will not give any government some kind of electoral value, they don't consider it being valuable. And that's why you see government will not do anything until perhaps a week or a year or some months to the election.
But this administration campaigned with solving the security problem of the country.
In fact, I think the major challenge we have is to think that this government can solve every problem. That's a major challenge we have, to have believed in the first place.
That was the promise.
It's a major challenge.
That was the
that
promise.
We have. Now the reality we have, the reality we have on ground does not support that reality. The reality does not support the earlier promise. So how do we want to get out of this situation? Should be our focus. And unfortunately, it will still go back to the government. Number one, he talked about personnel, which I mentioned earlier on. How many men do we have that we can actually play with our multifaceted problem that we have at the moment? We have some military men, Crocodile Smile somewhere. We have some in the Niger Delta. We have Lafia Dole somewhere in the north. We have them scattered all over the places. And the number is not impressive. Secondly, what is the attitude of the people towards giving information? Because we are bound, either we like it or not, by religious sentiment. To a certain degree, because this person belongs to my religion, I feel it's an offense for me to actually render information about him. That's number one. On the second hand, do I actually trust the authority that I want to...
I was about to say that. How do they approach the civilians?
These are some of the complexities that we have as a nation, and we must continue to tackle them one after the other. But on this particular issue, I think the government has slept over time. He mentioned about 2 or 3 decades. So what has the government been doing? Over time, the government has slept. Now we must wake up and know that it's not just a gun battle. We must begin with the locals. We must ensure that the locals actually have trust in the military, that to the point that they will be willing to render information to them. Then secondly, we must be able to protect the locals that are going to give this information. Then thirdly, we must ensure that now we are complaining about what do they call this grazing zone that the federal government is talking about. This will have been an opportunity, even if we cannot convert it to military base or formation, as he said. In the immediate, we can actually turn them to a military, to cattle grazing area.
Reserve.
So that we can solve some of these minute problems that we think are not too necessary.
All right, let me come back to you, Mike. This issue of security challenges within the states. The governors are supposed to be the chief security officers of the state.
Yeah. I think one just resigned as the CSO.
Yeah, exactly. Governor Yari resigned. They say he's no longer the chief security officer. All right, so he's -1.
But that's the fundamental
exactly
aspect.
So who takes over there now? That's what it means. But the point there is, as it is right now, we all know that when it comes to every security apparatus in this country is controlled from Abuja, the federal government, from the police, the military, the Navy, Air Force,
Central
SSS,
control.
and all of that. In this case, a lot of people have been calling for state police. But with what is going on now, even if there is a state police, would it have changed? Would it change anything? Would it be different?
It's a yes for me, personally.
Okay.
Because that which we fear so much is what is even chasing us. And what we have to do is to be sincere, with our actions that we intend to take. We have state INECs. It has not affected anything. We have other states apparatus. It is the human beings that are running the systems that are the problem, not the structures. If we know that the structures we want to create should be structures that may outlive us, but will be structures that will have Nigeria as the focus. It is possible because look at, people give examples with of salaries not being paid or whatnot. If we are sincere, nobody's salary should be owed. So state policing can work. The fear is that because of the politicians, we are saying that the politicians are going to use, and the politicians are the ones creating most of these problems. So we cannot be, because of a few, deny ourselves of the benefit of what we know is going to be of benefit to all of us. So there is need for us to have, if not the direct one, we can also customize a type that will favor our peculiar situation. So we need a community-based policing system that will help us, because the people that live in particular communities, they know the areas better than you bringing in somebody who does not understand the terrain, and he has to take some time to understand the environment he's going to operate on. It will not help. And that is why when we have that synergy, because it's not just going to be all state police. By the time it gets beyond their level, the federal will come in as the situation will be there. So there is need for state policing as one of the solutions to such problems. We may begin to implement it gradually, not at once, and then we'll begin to see what the challenges that come out of it, and we'll begin to work on them. But most importantly, intelligence is the most important way. These days, battles, issues like this are not won with guns alone. There are people that should be somewhere thinking. Let me put this to you. Do we have Security Research Institute in this country? Do we have them?
NIPS school is there.
Purely research institutes that will be saddled. Okay, there was Metazine crisis in the 80s when some of us were young. I witnessed that. People ran to our houses to take refuge. What did we learn from the Metazine? In other places, people have studied even our Biafran Civil War as their PhD thesis abroad. How many people have done that in this country? If we had learned from the Metazine crisis, we would have known how to handle the Boko Haram.
That's true. All right, let's leave it here now. Mike Obiaje, security expert, thank you so much for coming on the program.
It's my pleasure.
All right, and Dr. John, communication and leadership strategist, thank you for spending your morning with us. Thank you.